for daily fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit up by, he gon' lie before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor, good as it gets. Build a few liners and hit me a leg. He had a good game, but it might be a trick. Log in the Slack so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. I, of course, am your host of DFS Bachelor, and we're going to go over our fantasy draft NBA picks for Tuesday, February 11th. As usual, I do like a fast five core that I think are in a good spot for the day, and I really love the prices today on fantasy draft as I'm looking through it. There's a lot of ways you could go, so it should be a lot of fun today. First things first, thank you for all your support. I truly do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, welcome to the team. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you are so inclined to do so. Lots of content, NBA for all the sites, XFL content, etc. During the NBA All-Star break, we'll have our Window Liquor Awards show. Going to start really working on that. So your suggestions, things you'd want to see in that, feel free to comment with that. Also, by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving a comment in the comment section, you qualify for our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. And don't forget to comment with your fantasy draft username. We're working on the giveaways, deciding what we want to do here since NFL season is over. Comment with your fantasy draft username in the comment section to qualify for that. If you do not have a fantasy draft account, go to FantasyDraft.com, enter promo code DFS Bachelor, get yourself signed up. It's a lot of fun. It's rake-free DFS. And what that means is all of your entry fees go directly back into the player pool, so you have a higher % chance of winning. And when you do win, you win more because all of the prize pool is there. So check out Fantasy Draft. It's a lot of fun. One thing to point out to you all before we get started, if you are new to Fantasy Draft, it has double the salary cap of DraftKings. So when you see a player like Damian Lillard, for example, at $18,100, that's the equivalent of about $9,050, or exactly, not about, $9,050 on DraftKings. So just kind of getting that out of the way. So let's start at the top. As usual, there's lots of different ways you can go. You can follow me on Twitter at DFS Bachelor as news and information comes out throughout the day. We know how it is. It's the NBA. It's near the All-Star break. It's about to get dicey. Of course, there's going to be a lot of teams tanking here shortly. So it's just, it behooves you to keep an eye on that injury situation, resting, and Kawhi Leonard's, instance, macrame with grandma, whatever the hell it is that he does on all these days off. So there is that. So let's start at the top. We got Damian Lillard, 18-1 on Fantasy Draft, the equivalent of 9K on DraftKings. He's 10-3 today on DraftKings, just to give you an example. It's a paced-up game against a New Orleans team that, in terms of Fantasy Draft scoring, is 24th against opposing guards. Also, overall, they're allowing the second most fantasy points in the league to opposing point guards. Damian Lillard on the road in New Orleans should have a big game tonight. In his last four, 46, 44, 45, and 34 against New Orleans, but we know he's been absolutely red hot. Could be one of those 70-point games again tonight for Damian Lillard. Love that price. Sign me up for that. Next, at the guard position, I like Chris Paul against the Spurs. The Spurs are playing on a back-to-back. I believe the only team today playing on a back-to-back. Is that correct? Let me double check here. They are the only team playing on a back-to-back. A chance there's no DeMar DeRozan again. Chris Paul, 12-4 on Fantasy Draft, the equivalent of 6,200 on DraftKings. He's 6'8 today on DraftKings. San Antonio's 23rd against opposing point guards. In terms of Fantasy Draft scoring, they're allowing they're 14th in the league against opposing guards. Overall, you could see the format here: 3 guards, 3 forwards/centers, and then 2 utilities, slightly different. So you can play 5 centers if you want to, 5 point guards if you want to. I really like the flexibility that allows. That's what she said, or he said. I don't know. But I like Chris Paul. Love the upside. Love the matchup against the Spurs. And his last 4 games against the Spurs, nothing less than a 32, a 40, a 37. He's been playing really well. The minutes are there. The usage is there. Sign me up for some Chris Paul. Next, a little bit of a revenge narrative. Against a team, it's a little bit slowed down for Chicago. Actually, it's paced up for Chicago against Washington. Washington's 25th against opposing point guards. They're 28th overall against opposing guards. I like Thomas Satoransky. 9-9 on fantasy drafts. You're getting him for about $4,900, which is exactly what he is on DraftKings. A 36 and a 31 in his last 2 games against Washington, against his former team, whom he played with last year. Love the price, love the upside. Of course, no Chris Dunn. Means extra usage there as well. Zach LaVine's a little banged up but should play, but I love the matchup for Thomas Satoransky against Washington. At center. Favorite center of the day. I hope he doesn't let me down. I seem to be missing on this guy every time I play him, which is rare because usually he's a money maker for me. But I love Joel Embiid tonight. First of all, his price is 17-1 on FantasyDraft. So you're getting him for about $85.50 on DK. Today on DraftKings, he's 9,100. The Clippers overall against centers are 21st in the league against opposing centers. Against forwards and centers in FantasyDraft scoring, they are 22nd in the league. When you look at his last 4 games against the Clippers, a 57, a 61, a 69, and a 64, he is in a smash spot. They have no one on that roster who can compete with Joel Embiid. Kawhi and Paul George should be playing, making things difficult on Ben Simmons, etc. So things should be open in the interior for Joel Embiid. There's the title of your sex tape right there. I like Joel Embiid a lot in a smash spot, and he's just simply underpriced on FantasyDraft. Love that play tonight. And finally, for some value, since we've paid up for Embiid and Paul a little bit, Damian Lillard, we need a little bit of value, and the Bulls are starting Chandler Hutchinson. He's playing 30-plus minutes. In his last 5 games overall, consistently in the mid-20s to the low 30s. Chicago's allowing the second most fantasy points in the league, or Washington rather, is allowing the second most fantasy points in the league to opposing small forwards. In terms of fantasy draft scoring, they are 3rd against forward/centers, but really they struggle against small forwards. Chandler Hutchinson starting, he's 8,900 on fantasy drafts. So you're getting him for about 4 or 5 on DK. His price today on DraftKings is 4,600. That is a smoking price for Chandler Hutchinson. I like the upside and I like the matchup. So if we go, we'll get to this Lonnie Walker player here in a moment. If we go with this core 5 of Lillard, Chris Paul, Thomas Satoransky, Joel Embiid, and Chandler Hutchinson, it leaves you $11,200 per player, which is absolutely enough to fill out the rest of your roster. So that's a nice core. Be sure to check out Fantasy Draft. If you haven't created an account, comment with your Fantasy Draft username. Go to FantasyDraft.com, enter promo code DFS Bachelor. I had Lonnie Walker on the screen. I just want to talk about that for a moment. DeMar DeRozan was a late scratch yesterday. We all know that. I'm sure some of us were screwed by it, especially if you play on FanDuel. But if he's out again today in the back-to-back, Lonnie Walker will be in the starting lineup, and he's 6,100 on Fantasy Draft. That's minimum salary, near minimum salary. And this guy has some 40-point upside. He put up a 27 his last time out against Oklahoma City. So if DeMar DeRozan indeed misses, I think you can just lock that in at 6,100 today against Oklahoma City. So I just wanted to touch base on that, make sure that I pointed that out. Again, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, be part of our weekly $25 PayPal giveaway. Comment with your Fantasy Draft username, be part of those giveaways. We're getting that sorted out, so I appreciate you all being patient with that. Cheers to you all. Grab a coffee and Bailey's. I hope you enjoy your day. We'll be out here in a few minutes with our other NBA video, and then, of course, XFL this week, etc., as we head into the NBA All-Star break. Thank you all again so much. Goodbye, folks.